Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
It is I, the one, the only. Alrighty. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Character Discussions. I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Alfie, a geek for fun.
Indeed. And I messaged Alfie like, hour and a half ago. I was like, hey, need a character discussion. You choose. And he's like, who'd you choose?
I chose... the Faker. Shadow the Hedgehog.
You chose. If you're gonna say him, if you're gonna say the name, say it right. His edgiest lordness, Shadow the Hedgehog.
His edgiest hedgehog, Edgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh,
Yes.
I bet I'm the first person to ever come up with that. Don't cut yourself on all of Shadow's edges. Anyway, yes, Shadow the Hedgehog is just one of those characters, like so many characters in the Sonic lore that exists, and I'm not really sure there's ever a purpose, but then again, like 13-year-old me can't help but deny that it's the coolest thing ever. It's like everything that's cool and edgy already about Sonic dialed to the extreme, so he's like this fucking fake-ass Vegeta. It's pretty ridiculous, right?
Yeah, he's like Vegeta and Sal and every Tumblr like dark spot on the internet with like a Joker Gamers Rise Up t-shirt like mixed into one.
yeah, pretty much. And it's so silly because it's like it's fucking an anthropomorphic hedgehog. Like, why is this shit so over the top in its like cool edge factor? But there's an undeniable fact that it fucking worked for a while. Not long, but for a while it really did help the game sell and everything. And like, I mean, he was popular enough for his own game, which is no small feat. I'm really racking my brain and trying to think of how many sidekick characters, or not even sidekick, like secondary characters get their own games. Luigi comes to mind.
Yeah, literally just Luigi is what I was about to say. He's like...
The Mario cast did alright. Like, Yoshi got a game or two, Luigi got a game, Toad just got a game. There's no denying that, like, the Mario cast did alright, but I'm trying to think of things outside of Mario. Like, nothing's really come to mind of, like, side characters that got their own spin-off games. I'm sure there's someone in the comments, like, going away at me right now, but...
The biggest one I could think of is Rayman and, like, the rabbit things. They got kind of big for a while.
Oh, yeah, okay, I guess, because they started showing up in all the Mario games and stuff.
But they're not really a character. They're, like, a enemy type or something. No, it's not like the same thing with Shadow where, like, you can... They're an actual, like, interactive character with the cast. It's like Minions kind of cute appeal.
Yeah, I think so. So like that's really not too shabby. It's actually kind of impressive that he was able to garner enough popularity that Sega could release a game of him. And I've never looked up the sales figures, but I don't think it was a flop from a sales perspective. It was a flop for all the reasons that Sonic games usually are flops, because it was poorly done. if I'm not mistaken, I don't know for the facts, but I've never heard anyone talk about the Shadow game selling poorly. I've always just heard people make fun of like how outrageously bad it is. So you got that. But what made you think that Shadow would be the character to discuss today?
Well, I kind of, in part, was just thinking, all right, well, what do we have like on common grounds to talk about, and like what we talked about in the past? And I thought about the Amy thing, and I was just like, I actually just, in terms of all of Sonic's cast, I think like Shadow has like so much like separate lore to everyone else that he's worth talking about as like his own thing.
Maria.
Maria.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald? All the memes. No, you're right though. Like he's got Shadow kind of becomes not the sole proprietor, but he definitely is the most recognizable of when Sonic games take this really convoluted ass turn. Like you got the first couple games and they start out and it's like, okay, evil doctor and he makes machines and there are these Chaos Emeralds that turn you into a Super Saiyan and you gotta collect them. Like that's pretty much the plot of like the first two Sonic games. Sonic 3 introduces Knuckles and that's about it. There's really not much else plot-wise besides what was already in the first two. You get to Adventure, and it starts to get more complicated, but it's not quite there yet. You get to Adventure 2, and Shadow kind of really, really kicks it off, I feel. He's got, like, his whole backstory is a weapon or something, but then, like, the final boss is the weapon, and you got this whole he can't properly remember his past thing, and so that's what the game turns into. It starts to get really complicated right around the time Shadow hits the scene.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something that they didn't intend to do, and then as a response of his popularity, they kind of like... See, Sega has like this really weird relationship with its fans that I feel like is the result of why it's made so many poor business decisions. Is Nintendo, for all as good as they are, they do not give a shit about what their fans say. They'll just do their own things. Like Metroid fans have been claiming for years they want a Metro game, and it's taken to a new Metro game, and it's taken to now from just to like announce like a JPEG of the title, and it's like that's all you're getting for another 5 years. Whereas Sega is so eager to please the fans and get people to like them, they tend to go way overboard and almost like shoot themselves in the foot to where the Sonic fan base is so divided and multi-layered and really weird and like really awesome sometimes as well. It's one of like the most, like anyone on the internet knows just like how big the Sonic fandom and how just like crazy and like convoluted it is. So trying to appease that and letting that like fandom dictate, oh, Shadow the Hedgehog was really popular, let's bring him back in Sonic Heroes. Oh, he's still even more popular, let's give him his own sequel game. Let's start basing the tone of the entire series about Shadow's popularity and that kind of storytelling. And that's what kind of leads to 06 just being like that Adventure 2 storytelling taken to the absolute fanfic bullshit extreme. And it's like, you kind of take away all the things that made them popular in the first place and what made them like unique. Even regards of any like quality, like Adventure 2 of the story, it was like nothing else that came before it, even in an Adventure 1.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, definitely. Like the gameplay and everything is really interesting, and like kind of everyone will talk about Adventure 2 not really holding up outside of the Sonic and Shadow levels, right?
Yeah.
Those two are like what the game was built around, and then Sega just felt like, well, we've got all these other characters, so we got to squeeze them in here. But I guess to kind of wrap it back to like the convoluted ass side of Shadow, he's got like just this really complicated origin, and the game that like introduces him and attempts to explain it to a degree kind of fails, because he's the ultimate life form throughout the entire thing until you get to the last boss, which is the ultimate life form, and it's like, well, what? So what the fuck is Shadow? Was he just like the family pet? Like it just creates this really weird thing, and so it leaves this really weird open-ended thing, and that's where you go into Shadow the Game, which has it's almost impressive how foolishly ambitious it was, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I review fan films on this channel, right? And one of the things I always talk about with fan films is, you know, the need to check your ambition and really think about what can we get away with, what can we accomplish in this. And Shadow is made by a professional studio, and I just need to talk to Sega and be like, we really need to check our ambition and see what we can get away with, what we can accomplish, because that game wants to give you more information on Shadow's origin, and yet has 3 separate storylines you can go down as in like this fucking Fable morality scale.
And all 3 of them have 2 different alternative endings.
Yes, so it's just like, it's such a convoluted thing. So you go into the Shadow game wanting more answers about his past, and you end up with more questions. Because each of them contradicts each other, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's just like, what? Side note though, the intro cinematic to that fucking game is just one of the most 2005 edge-tastic things I've ever seen. Like, there's one point at which Sonic, like, fucking dies on screen, and you just got Shadow standing over him with a gun.
I am! Here we go, buddy, here we go, buddy, here we go!
No! It's so edgy! I cut myself on the video. Like, no, it is so ridiculous that they... It's just like the ultimate epitome of Sega knowing, like, how to or not looking before they leap is I think kind of the epitome of Sega, because I can't deny it. I like Sonic. Sonic has a cool design and everything. I really like a lot of the characters that they start to introduce after they really pick up on what design choices made Sonic really cool. Like, I know there are divisions in the fan base about like what looks cool, what kind of Sonic they prefer, like the round and chubby or the tall and lanky kind of thing. I always have preferred the tall and lanky, but like as soon as you get like to Knuckles, it's like, okay, here's what worked about Sonic, and now we're improving it, and it's cooler. It's turning on the cool factor. It's turning it up, and then you get to Shadow, and it's kind of the perfection of that. And then you get to Silver, and it's like, you're kind of losing it somewhere. Somewhere along the lines, you're going awry on just cool-looking design things. And so Shadow has just got this really fucking awesome look to him. And you need him to be a bit darker and a bit, not as chili dogs as Sonic the Hedgehog. But at the same time, it's still an anthropomorphic fucking hedgehog. You can only go so far with that shit. So, like, the design definitely calls for a bit of a darker tone to some degree or another, but, like, this whole, like, experiment gone wrong or some shit, ultimate life form, aliens invasion thing, it just starts to get so... It starts to get so much that, like, it jumps the shark and becomes laughable, I feel.
Yeah, they go, and like, especially in like the comics where like this revealed that Shadow is the cure for cancer.
What?
That is okay. So, in the like Archie Sonic comics, Maria's dying because she has cancer, and Shadow is created as the cure to that, and that's why he was so close to us when they do like tests and stuff. It's like something in his body would like cure all diseases, and then like his blood would be able to, like, if you gave it to someone, they'd be able to just be totally cured and everything. And then like in the Archie world, once he gets his memory back and he finds out that like the freedom fighters use Shadow's blood to like cure all these like diseases on Earth.
God damn, comic books are weird.
Yeah.
like, I just want to establish, like, that's not how cancer works. Like, just on a really, like, that, we'll start there, but, like, there's so much wrong with that shit that is really fucking funny. And it goes too far. It gets too ridiculous, and I don't know, I guess I'm the one that's always stuck here in, like, the Sonic doesn't need a story. Like, you really could have just had, like, I don't know, just, it seems so easy. Like, okay, here's this hedgehog that's, like, a lot like Sonic, but it's black, and it's all, like, pissed off. Okay, and you need an origin. Alright, fine, it's a clone of Sonic that they tried to improve and made evil. It's so much simpler that way. It covers so many of the bases that you need it to cover. And you can still do the whole, I don't have to do what you tell me. Like, you know, I can be good or bad, whatever the fuck I want. And it would fit within the confines of the creation of the character. But, like, as you start to go just further and further with it, it just, like, does no one on the teams writing this character go, okay, guys, doesn't this feel just a little silly? Like, aren't we taking this just a little too seriously for what it is? And I don't know. I'm sure if the right part of the fan base heard me say shit like this about Shadow, they'd be, yeah, I'd be pretty fucked right now. But that's okay. No one watches Geeky, gentlemen. Yeah. What else can we talk about with Shadow? We got a lot to go.
Well, like, you go to the intro, and you talk about, like, this, taking it seriously, and, like, how like, admittedly, that intro is, like, really well animated, like, the models and everything look really good, and, like, the action in it's good, it's just, like, just crazy, but, like, how many months of time of manpower when they do that first shot of him standing in front of the moon, loading an AK-47, do people have... No one said, hey, what are we doing? And do you know the story about why Shadow started using guns? I
do not.
Okay, so, apparently for years, this is just kind of mind-blowing to me, but the main request that Sega always receives from Japanese fans was, we want Sonic to use guns. It's when you first see Shadow, you normally think, oh, this is probably like a really bad executive decision trying to appeal to like the young fandom. And it is, but it's also, the story is, this was heavily requested for Sonic, and they were like, well, we're not going to do that to our main brand because no, but we do have a darker, edgier alternative who we don't mind risking that with. So, okay, Shadow uses guns now, even though that's never been a part of his character before. Why would he even need that when he can literally make energy blasts? Whatever. And it's just kind of stuck around as like this decision that I just can't fathom as being a fan request and then going through with that.
I mean, like, you don't even have to get that far with it because, like, it's just shit. It just plays like shit. Like, because you're going too fucking fast to aim at anything.
Yeah, it's totally too slippery.
Yeah, it's got like this like auto aim feature that's like garbage because you've already passed the thing by the time you shoot, and it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? So the idea that it was a fan request, I don't see it. I don't understand why you would want that, like, a gun on a character that's going that fast. Like, that, it's so confusing. And I guess if I'm really thinking about the way that the play dynamics have evolved with, like, the homing attack just being completely ridiculous by the time you get to, like, colors and generations where you just jump and you can fly halfway across the screen with one homing attack, that maybe it's just a gun in a way anyway, but still, I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous that would even be requested. So to see it with Shadow is It's the icing on the cake of really bad ideas. That's one of those things where, like, again, I talk about fan films a lot, and I'm like, we really need to think about. You may want this as a fan, but, like, is this really the right move for the character? And I guess I really need to lecture Sega. The fans may think they want this, but it's our job as the creators to give them what they need, not what they think they want.
Yeah, which is like the Nintendo mentality. Like, I'm sure a lot of weird shit gets asked about what they want Mario to do, but I don't think they'll listen either, because Nintendo's like, oh no, we've got weird as shit.
I'm still like, the only time I've heard like a major push from the fans for Mario is Bowsette, and I'm really waiting for Nintendo to make that shit official. Anyway, yeah, so much of what goes on in the Sega franchises, in the Sonic franchise in particular, is just like, oh, Sega, you dumb bastards. Oh, here we go again with this shit. Okay. So I talked a bit about Shadow's design. What do you think of it?
Shadow's design, I think I again agree. I'm normally a bigger fan of like the classic aesthetic, just because I feel like it makes more sense that Sonic can roll into a ball that way. And I prefer like the Sonic Mania designs of like the animated shorts and stuff are just so endearing to me. That's kind of always what I prefer. But I think Shadow, in terms of like, if you are gonna go with that Sonic aimed to more of the teen audience but still being fun, I think Shadow goes right up to that line, but in like the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
The red and the black just work so well, especially in like just for game parts environments in Sonic games. It gives him like a more unique look than just the blue. The fact that when he's running, they sometimes give him like this yellow aura instead of like when Sonic dashes, it has like the blue, like really light blue, and his Shadow's got like this sickly yellow. I think it looks really, really cool. So just like superficial stuff like that, I think Shadow is like, they never really go wrong with it in terms of like, even his super form being like this pale yellow, I think it always looks really, really cool.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I really like the red streaks in the quills, the way that he doesn't just look like a palette swap of Sonic, which is a really, really good move. Whoever does a lot of the character designs for the Sonic franchise really, Rogue the Bat aside, really does seem to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's rare that it doesn't look cool. A lot of that stuff really does work. And then, like, the other thing that you did mention about Shadow is, like, the difference in the sneakers and, like, the way he's animated for running, because he doesn't actually run. He skates and glides, which is really, really cool by comparison. Like, he's got the little jet boots and stuff, which is really, really neat. And I fucking love those things, and it's such a... It makes him just look so different than Sonic, because the idea of like, okay, it's a black, somewhat evil hedgehog. It would be so easy to just make him a complete palette swap of Sonic and just make him, he runs really fast, he curls up into a ball too, and he does all those things, but like it's those subtle choices in how it's different that make it work a bit better and make him feel unique. And I think it's those little details that have kept him around for as long as he's stuck. I think that's what that's part of what made him click so well with fans.
Yeah, he's got that kind of appeal like a lot of like the best rivals, especially the most popular rivals kind of have. Of like Venom is just like Spider-Man, but like all the monstrous aspects like turned up to 11. Mega Man, like he's got like Zero, who's like all the Mega Man aspects, but like turned up to 11, but without compromising like the basic idea of it. And I think like Shadow strictly is like an antagonist before they started turning him as like an anti-hero. I think he really works as like from like, if you just judge it from like as a game character, without any of the other media, he works because he's basically like you as the player as Sonic. He can do everything you can do, but seemingly more effortlessly and cooler with more style. And I feel like that's like a really good like incentive. Like if you're ever going to bring back Shadow into like one of the Sonic games, like that classic games, you know how like Knuckles in Sonic 3 would always like turn up at the end of like a level, like sabotage you in some way and like do that really annoying laugh.
Mm-hmm.
How I would do with Shadow is like I'd have like every now and again before you're going to get the last hit on a boss, he'll turn up, do it in one shot, have like a really cool soundtrack playing, to have him turn around, like have him like laugh at you with like a really big, and then just run away, and then to like set up for this whole game. It's like that fucking kill stealer. He just did that and made it look really easy.
Yeah, I could see that. It'd be interesting. Like I find it so fascinating, and I realize why they did it. I find it fascinating that Mania didn't or doesn't seem interested at all in doing anything with Shadow. Part of it's the timeline of where they have their game set, and part of it's that they want their game to be obviously a tribute to the older Sonic style and franchise, and how that's kind of been forgotten and ignored. But at the same time, I'm really surprised that they haven't bowed down to the demand from fans, and I'm pretty sure I've seen some mods of Mania that have put Shadow in it.
Yes.
Because I'd be really curious to see what that design team with that classic Sonic CD style opening, I'd be curious to see what their design for Shadow would end up looking like. Especially given that, Mania is essentially a goddamn fan game. Yeah, I don't know, just random thought.
I've seen quite a few like really cool fan designs of that. Of like him, like Blaze the Cat and stuff like that. And I'm kind of hoping like in a Mania sequel, because we did get like references to other stuff. I'd be fine with Mania just turning into its own canon at this point and throwing in characters from other games, but like doing their own version of it. Because I just think like it'd be such an interesting. You've already got so many separate franchises going at once. Mania is complete fan service, like you said. It is just giving fans a chance to make a Sonic game and do it right. Why not just say, okay, this is what maybe we know Shadow's popular even among the classic fans, but they may not care for like the games he's in. All right, now we're going to throw him into the games they do care about as like a secret unlockable character once you get like the perfect ending or something. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think there'd be ways to do it. I mean, you've got fucking Trunks ripoff character in the form of Silver. Like, you've introduced time travel to the mythos, so there's really no reason that you can't do antics. Even if Mania is set before Shadow's discovered or whatever, you can throw him in and just have it be some time travel bullshit. You spend like 5 seconds coming up with the story justification for it. The whole fucking story is told through just little quick animations and shit before the levels start. You could totally fit him in there and just have it be an excuse to get the playability there. He'd play a lot like Sonic, but it'd be cool to see some of his other power set getting introduced, because one thing I think is really cool about Shadow is, again, that he's not just a palette swap. He can do things that Sonic can't, which is really neat. I like Chaos Control. I have no idea what it is. But I really like that it's a thing. It's really neat that he's got this way to use Chaos Emeralds that Sonic can't.
Yeah, and I feel like it's something that isn't as explored as I'd liked it to be, because I feel like Shadow, like, we talk about how convoluted his origin is, and I feel like they completely went in the wrong direction with it. But like the hints are like maybe they had the alright idea, because the whole thing that everyone asks, I might go into a tangent about his origin here, but the whole thing everyone asks, like the meme kind of thing is, why is the ultimate life form a hedgehog? of all things, why did they make it a hedgehog? Why, like he's mentioned earlier, why is the bio-lizard the prototype to a hedgehog? How are those two things connected in any way, shape, or form? And my answer to that, which I think is supposed to be the official answer, but I think like translation things between like the Sonic like Adventure 2 dub is like horrendously like bad, and like the audio will just keep going after the animations ended sometimes. But so like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, when you like fight Knuckles, like the final in his boss fight in like this like underground temple thing, there's a mural on the wall of Sonic fighting freaking Eggman, like and the final boss of that thing. And it's supposed to be like a prophecy. It's like the classic games had barely any story, like you said, but they had like little tidbits of like lore things. And then you get the whole Chaos thing in Adventure 1. And what I think Shadow is meant to be is the grandfather seeing that Supersonic prophesized, because Shadow's basically a palette swap of Supersonic, and saying, okay, that's the ultimate life form, apparently, and Chaos is the other thing. Let me try and make those.
I think that's an interesting way to look at things.
Which is why he's like so tied into like Chaos powers, which I really like because Chaos Emeralds are such an important part of the lore, but they're only ever used to power machines for Eggman and turn Sonic into Supersonic. They're not really done other ways apart from with Shadow.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like. Like, say what you will about 06, I thought it was a really cool idea to give Shadow that scene where he's able to just fucking dominate Silver with Chaos Control, and just you see how different a power set that is, and how unique and cool that can be. And like one of the Sonic games that didn't really go anywhere, I think it may have been just a little it was on the wrong platform, and it was a little too early for the online gaming thing to take off, was Sonic Rivals. I thought that was a really great idea for a game, this like racing game with the characters where you can go head to head with people. And like I liked the way the power-ups were balanced in that one, because you could do Chaos Control with Shadow, and everyone else would be slowed down. So it was like a time flux kind of thing. And I always thought that was a really, really cool idea for a power-up to give him, and it just wasn't ever really used properly. Like the teleporting is probably a little too cheap, but I guess it just depends on the range. So I don't know. It's a neat idea, the way they gave him different power sets with the Chaos Emeralds.
And it's kind of really suited to... Oh, sorry, if you want to carry on.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So it's like, to me, have you ever played any of like these really like indie 2D games that are kind of like taking the scene a lot, basically, where like they're in the style of like Sonic, but they've got like more puzzle solving orientated?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Shadow, with his like time stop and teleporting, would be fantastic in a puzzle solving action like 2D game.
Oh, that would be kind of cool.
Where you have to like make sure so you have to like knock off. There's like a switch you have to hit, and you have to like knock off something to fall on it. But you have to do it in the right time. So you stop time there, and then move something else near that, so that when you start time again, it like kicks off. I think that would be amazing.
I think that was Prince of Persia.
Basically, yeah. Do that. Do Prince of Persia for Shadow.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think we're all good. We just need recommendations, and this is one of those things where I'm like, I actually don't have much to recommend. I'll say his episodes on Sonic Boom were pretty fucking funny.
Yes.
I don't have much else to recommend. I honestly can't recommend you play Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm sure there's like a really funny dub of it or something, or someone did like Sonic the Hedgehog, or not Sonic, Shadow the Hedgehog abridged or something like that. I'm sure someone's done something at least partially entertaining with it, but I can't in good conscience recommend someone subject themselves to that game. Maybe there's some cool fan mods out there. I love all the fan mods for Sonic Generations, I bet. And I know there are some cool-ass Shadow ones, so I'll give you that. What about you, Alfie? What do you got to recommend?
Basically, mod all your favorite Sonic games so you can play a Shadow and build it and have a good time. I think in terms of just, like, if you want, like, what is probably, like, the best media he's appeared in with, like, where he probably should have just stayed dead, is just play Sonic Adventure 2, and you kind of get everything you need to know about Shadow and, like, his purest form, and like when he had a convoluted backstory, but it was to the point where you can kind of say, all right, okay, you had your one chance for that, you did it okay, let's move on. The problem is they didn't move on. And in terms of, I wouldn't recommend any of the comics unless you really want to hurt yourself. Look up the Shadow the Hedgehog. There are compilations of YouTube of all the funniest and memed cutscenes from that game. So I think you can look up that. You probably have a good time without like having to go through the game itself.
All right, cool. Okay, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm a geek for fun.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.